The honourable member for Dunkley.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. This is my workplace, one that I'm incredibly proud to have been elected to work in. And it's your workplace, Deputy Speaker. It's the workplace of the Minister and the Shadow Minister at the table, and it's the workplace of thousands of people, both men and women. But it's also much more than a workplace. It's where school children come to learn about democracy and leadership. It's where my grade 6 niece came last week with her class, and where there's so many faces of young women just so excited and amazed that they could be here in the federal parliament. It's a place where people from all over Australia come to visit because it's the home of government, and where we ask those visitors to show respect for parliamentary procedures, for the artwork and for the displays and for the magnificence of this building. And it's a building that is open and welcomes Australians from right across our country, young and old, and visitors from overseas, because that represents our democracy that is one that we are supposed to say and believe is for the people and by the people and of the people. And everything about this place and the way we behave in it and what we do in it should represent and illuminate how precious democracy is. But yet, over the last few weeks, probably longer, people across Australia have come to see this building as a place where a young, vulnerable woman was raped and then was made to feel that she had to choose between justice and her job, where she was made to feel that the only reason her employers, the Liberal government, cared about what happened to her was because of the political implications, where she was called a lying cow. They've come to see this parliament as a place where the Prime Minister of Australia can't go out the front to listen to thousands and thousands of women rallying for their voices to be heard, but says they can come to him, 3 or 4 of them, because he's busy, or perhaps, as one of the Liberal members suggested on the weekend, because all of those singing women were a security threat. But now, following a story on Channel 10 News just a few hours ago that made me feel sick and disgusted and so very, very sad and angry all at the same time, this building is now a place under this Prime Minister and this government where it is, to quote Tom, the whistleblower featured on Channel 10 tonight, a culture of men who think they can do whatever they want, and has been so for years. How could anyone watch a video, no matter how pixelated, of a desk at their workplace being masturbated on and hear that that video was shared around and not feel sick to their stomach, let alone hear that it was deliberately done to a female MP's desk in some disgusting act of power and defilement? Because be under no illusions, that's what it was, an act of power and defilement, and that is not what the Australian Parliament should be known for. I heard the Australian Parliament described on our national broadcaster's news tonight as a workplace culture of national shame. And I was physically distressed to think that that is not just my workplace and our workplace, but the home of Australians' democracy. And no Australian government, no matter whether it be Liberal or Labor, should be known as a government that tolerates a culture where that is happening within its ranks. It's a workplace. You don't have sex at a workplace unless it's a brothel. Parliament House is not a brothel, and yet we heard on the news tonight an allegation that that's exactly how a Liberal MP has treated it. And I expect we will hear the Prime Minister at some point, probably tomorrow, in full high dudgeon about this. He will talk about he's revolted by it and the acts of Liberal staff and how he's going to clean up this place, but words of disgust are not enough anymore. We need to have a government that hears and listens and truly takes responsibility for the culture that it presides over. It is a dangerously bad culture. On Channel 10 tonight, Tom proposed that it needs to start with the removal of this toxic, powerful, privileged boys' club that does what it wants, when it wants, where it wants. A fish rots from the head down,
member's
and there's
time
a
has
terrible
concluded.
stink in this.
The question is